Mr. Trey Dawson, what's up, buddy?
Jonathan Dominguez, how's it going, buddy? The wind is blowing.
It is. It feels like it hasn't stopped since Saturday or Friday, I should say.
Yeah, it's like Mother Nature called and said, she wanted to come through, but wanted to know who was here. I seen a meme that said that. It was kind of funky, but yeah, it's super bipolar.
She is on something right now. That's for sure.
Not a lot here, man. Excited. Bassmaster Championship tomorrow. Been following that. We know they shot it to a one-day shootout. We all seen that fish Lance caught. That's amazing.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. I was gonna ask you, Jonathan, real quick, if they called you tonight and said, look, we got a helicopter, we're gonna transport your kayak there. You got to be there by 7:30 in the morning, but you can only bring one rod and you can only bring one bait. Are you going to fish it, and what are you gonna bring?
I would think I would just take something big. I would take like a mag draft or a what's the Zal Dangerous swim bait. I take something like that.
Okay.
And just send it. They should probably be thinking about spawning. They might be up shallow, but I'll send it with that.
Okay.
Go big.
Nothing else going on here. Leaving for Table Rock Friday. I'm excited. I really got nothing on the line for this tournament. It's just going to be really fun. Probably doing something pretty dumb myself, but kind of going for broke. And I'm not taking a spinning rod with me, if that gives you any idea of what I may or may not be doing.
Come on, put that jig head minnow on.
I'm not going to do it, bro. I'm bragging a spinner bait and a glide bait and, maybe a couple jackhammers and a rock crawler. And I'm doing something that is totally out of my comfort zone, but I can use this as an opportunity because I'm fishing 3 to make the classic in October. So, yeah, excited. I am really excited for this one.
Guys, if you guys are on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever you're on, of course, we get all the comments here on our side through Facebook. So if you want to watch on Facebook and comment, get interactive, we would appreciate that. But let's talk Lake of the Ozarks. We had a great event. I'm not gonna hold this guys back anymore. Let's get these guys in here. Let's talk to them. We got the top 3 here. The top 3 from the event. Aaron, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, man. We joked around before we got on here, but looks like you've dried off since Taneycomo.
Absolutely. Yep. 100% now.
Good. Mr. Swearingen, what's up, buddy? Mr. Trash Pot.
Yeah, I actually did take a shot at the trash pot the other day, but I hooked something. I don't know what it was. At first I thought, man, this is a giant. But then it pulled me about 100 yards out offshore, spooled me, took about a $50 wiggle wart with it, 200 yards of line.
The crappie.
Probably.
Hello, Tony Ed, your crappie there, buddy.
It's been a while since I've had anything for the trash pot.
It has. And finally, Mr. Troy Inky.
Hey, guys.
The big winner from this weekend. Excited to have you on here.
Thanks for having me.
You sent me about 6 emails today, all from your AI assistant.
What are you doing now?
And I'm kind of stoked about it. It's kind of interesting, but it's kind of scary at the same time. So we'll talk about that at the end of the story because we'll lead into Palmy a little bit. But no, let's talk about Saturday. You guys had all 3 of you guys had really great finishes, and I'm going to start with you. Robert, tell us about your day. Tell us, I don't know, maybe tell us where you went and kind of what you caught them on, man.
I planned on coming up there fishing on Thursday, but ended up I was out too late Wednesday night with the yak pot, and I couldn't make myself get up and drive up there, so I drove up Friday. I only got to fish for a few hours on Friday. I found one spot real close to the ramp that my fish were loaded on. I caught about a 5-pounder off of it. On Friday, I didn't measure it, but I was like, dang it, I'm gonna regret this. I'm gonna wish I had this one tomorrow. Started off same spot up the glaze, run into Troy there, several other guys. I was first one out. Wind was ripping onto the boat ramp too. It was blowing straight in on it. Went over to my spot, water temperature tanked on me, and I ended up just starting to throw an old wigglewort and covering water with it. I don't think I caught a fish until I'm going to say about 9 o'clock was my first fish, and then it was just kind of a grind here and there. Nothing steady, just every so often catch one here, an hour later catch one somewhere else.
When you talk about that water temp tanked on you, like were you looking for a certain water temp on Saturday?
I mean, as long as it's in the upper 40s to lower 50s, I love throwing a wiggle wart, and that's prime temperature for throwing a wart. It was up 54, 55 on Friday, and when I started, it was 47, 48.
Yeah.
I'm still comfortable with the water temperature, but it, just that fast of a drop kind of puts them into a shock. But I think a lot of it was the wind just ripping across that point and blowing a lot of water from the main lake back onto it, because I ended up finding a little bit warmer water later in the day.
And you made a good point. I noticed that too, where you would catch one fish off a secondary, but it was nearly impossible to go back in there again and catch a second fish. Like I would always catch one fish, and that spot was done. Really, I had to kind of relocate. Catching two fish out of the same spot, I could not do it. I could maybe go back later and catch another fish, but sitting there fishing that same area, that was difficult for me. Is that what you kind of said too? It's kind of like a one-hit show.
Exactly. And for me, up on that part of the lake, it's really unusual. I don't fish that part of the lake very often. It's just kind of a certain time of the year that I like it up there. Years ago, and this was at a boat tournament, people that know me real well, they hear me use the term power hour. I make the joke all the time. Anything I catch before the last hour of the tournament's a bonus anyway, because there is actually a spot, it's just a big long stretch of bank, but there's one little sweet spot on that years ago in a boat tournament at 2:35, I had not had a single bite all day long. At 3 o'clock, I weighed in 4 fish. It was over 17 pounds. And it's like, I'm just addicted to that. I caught one off of it the other day. So yeah, but it was super spread out. I catch one on a point, one in the back of a cove, one on a bluff end, and there was just no real pattern to it at all.
Made no sense.
How much of your boating tournaments and whatnot has carried over to kayaking, would you say? I mean, is it just more like you've been able to like see a lot more areas before and kind of know where you want to go in a kayak now?
I mean, really most of my experience that I have come from boat fishing. I mean, this is my 30th year of tournament fishing. I've been tournament fishing since I was 14. So I'll tell you how old I am. But, I mean, really, whenever I'm developing a strategy, I mean, I'm always going back to, man, I had a tournament at this ramp at this time. I did really good here. And yeah, that's where I get a lot of it from, I guess. Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know why I didn't throw a rock crawler or a frit side or any of that. I stuck with that jerkbait and the A-rig, and I swear to you guys talk about you caught them on random spots, and I caught mine off one docks. But I mean, is that wigglewort just a confidence bait for you?
It is. And back to there's been a lot of times that I've thrown a rock crawler and I couldn't get bit. Last year's Taney 20 that I did qualify for, I threw a rock crawler for hours and I never caught a fish on it. I turn around, throw an old antique wart, and I started catching fish. And yeah, when water temperature is between 45 and 55, I'm going to have an old style wigglewort for sure.
And JD, I don't think you were too far off, man, because I was watching the recap of a couple big boat tournaments that put out some decent bags that day and Sunday, and it was all dirt shallow with a jerkbait. So I mean, you were there. I mean, the crankbait bite was really good. Saturday. And for me, it was really just on that little Fritz side, that Fritz side 5 Junior, but it had to be in a crawl color. If I switched it up to any other color, I couldn't get bit. But yeah, I think you had the right bait, JD, for real. I mean, from what I hear, at least that day and Sunday, a jerk bait dirt shallow got it done.
Yep. Sad part is I had a Fritz side tied up and it stayed in the kayak the whole day. So go figure, And I think that a lot of it's area stuff too. I think he sounded like a lot of guys did well up the river and whatnot. Well, let's jump over to Aaron. Aaron, tell us about your day on Saturday. And why is this not working? Give me a second. I'll get this figured out. I'll switch you in. But tell us about Saturday, man. Tell us about, give us the details.
Yeah, man. It was a fantastic day. Probably one of the best days of March I've ever had on this lake, which is sad for living here for 34 years. But didn't have a whole size wise, but definitely had the right ones to put on the boards. I hadn't really pre-fished at all. Just been kind of following tournaments. The local dock talk, I guess you'd call it. With some of the local guys, during card nights, whatnot, just kind of developing an idea of what I wanted to do. So me and Mason actually got to talking the week leading up to it about some things and ended up doing it and stuck with it. So, and it panned out. Basically, I decided to go as far up as I could up the Big Niagara. I mean, until I couldn't go no more. And it panned out. So I found a nice little pool that had some good fish in it. Even had some good smallies to put up on the board too. So yeah, all dirt shallow. I'd say majority of my fish was less than 4 foot. If I caught anything over 4 foot, I'd probably be lying. So, like 20 minutes into my trip, going to my first spot, I seen like 56.1 on my graph, so I knew it was going to be good. From the sounds of it, I probably had the warmest water out of everybody, which that's what you get when you get that far up in that skinny water. So, and through the Fritz side, I caught one, my big spot come on it, and then everything else come on a Berkeley. I think it's called a Dime 4, I think it's what it's called. A little smaller profile, a little much shallower. I think the max is out at 4 to 5 foot. So it was perfect for where I was at up that river. Yeah, I probably caught I probably caught more than 50 fish, I bet. I mean, it was just as soon as I got there, it was on and it stayed on all day. So
that's crazy. Like, I would like to go back and see just like some Moyak history and see how many like Lake of the Ozark tournaments in March had, right there, almost first, really close with Inky that, and then see the fish that you caught and see, smallmouth won it for you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, and that's crazy. That's just what I don't think of that when I think of Lake of the Ozarks, right? I don't think that a smallmouth bag is going to get it done, but you got it done. I mean,
yeah.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, I don't think even Mason said he don't think he's ever seen a limit of smallmouth ever at Lake of the Ozarks on for Moyak or for any kayak tournament. So, well, not even boat tournaments. I don't think I've ever seen a limit of smallmouth in boat tournaments. So yeah, it was definitely special to be able to do that, especially out of a kayak and
Yes, dude. Especially coming off Canny, right? Because that had to be a huge blow to you. And all your friends are trying to reach out to you, and then you come back out just swinging on this one, dude. It kind of takes me back to Stockton a little bit, where you took that first at Stockton, which was really huge for you. And you kind of went through some adversity last year. We talked about that, and just coming back strong, dude. That's awesome. If you believe in a higher power, that's just that's amazing, dude. And yeah, I loved seeing it, dude. And you're my partner, or I'm your partner, so that was cool too. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I definitely looked at the big man up top. I know not everybody is. That's okay too. So, but I definitely am a believer. And the 10-20, heartbreaking. First time in 3 years of kayak fishing I've ever flipped, let alone fell in the water, not on purpose, and it was, I'm just fortunate it wasn't 36-degree water, like we've been seeing here at the lake at LOZ. Yeah, it brings you back to reality when something like that happens. So to be able to go out and basically swing for the fence, not fish at all, just because I've been so busy with getting everything else squared away, and to be able to go out and do what I did last week was awesome for sure. So
What run us down? What happened at Taney?
I was in the Shoaly, and different style of kayak for me. I was born and raised in the AP, having the spot lock, the whole 9 yards. But being in the Shoaly, having a rear mount motor, not being able to anchor very well, just kind of all the factors put together. I guess comfortability wise for me, because I'm short, but I'm a bigger boy. I was on a spot that I caught that 18 off of first thing that morning. I went back to it, and it was just kind of just chilling there, and um, I was having a little bit of issue with balance because I think I had a little too much weight in it. It ended up, I had a neck issue, and was kind of basically doing this, popping my neck, and next thing I know, it just it went left, and I couldn't save it, so ended up rolling out and yelling for dear life.
I don't know who it was, but they were telling me that you were in shallow enough water that your batteries kept you anchored, so you couldn't flip your kayak back over.
Yep.
And I heard by the time that Swearingen got to you, you were sitting on top of it.
Yep. So I probably wasn't in the water, but maybe 5 minutes, if that, because I scrambled back up onto my hole that quick. And then basically doggy paddled to a tree that was in the water. It didn't have not even a single nub on it. It was just a straight stick, so I couldn't stand on it to try to flip it or anything. So I ended up being stranded on the hole for seemed like hours, but I think it was only like 40 minutes. But the battery cables had hooked around the one strap in the back and was basically dangling there instead of disconnecting. And they were weighting my kayak down. I would have had to have just abandoned it to go to shore. And I don't know. In the moment, I didn't want to do that. So I just ended up staying on top of it till Schweringa got down to me. So, and then I can't remember his name. His name was Steve. That was in the Tanny 22 come down to me, thankfully, and helped me as best he could. So I forgot his last name, but shout out to him for definitely helping me.
Yeah, I think it's Steve Van Tassel. I think that's who
it
was.
Yeah, because he's got the son that fishes too. Yep. So it's definitely a shout out to Steve for doing that, because he could have just kept on fishing, but he got down to me and tried to help me out best he could. So it was good deal. I had somebody else there to be able to call, because both my phones were under the water, and it'd have been a bad day if he hadn't shown up and got a hold of Josh and Schwerningen.
So now that I'm thinking about it, batteries connect to the kayak, and Jonathan or anybody, maybe guys. So what would I do in a situation? It seems like that could happen very easily for anybody. My kayak flips over, and now my batteries are dangling because they're clipped to the cord that's hardwired to my kayak, and they're basically acting like anchors. Is that a common problem? And how do you counter that if that does happen?
To me, it's a more common problem because he was running the Newport. So that has a cable that runs to that motor. Actually has a couple cables that run to that motor. With like your autopilot, in theory, that battery and all that stuff should stay strapped down. You may lose, if your seat's not strapped down, you may lose that. But I think the first thing to do is just try to get that sucker flipped back over, and then get your belly in the bottom of the kayak and get up. But it's all like, I think the upside of Aaron is he was in shallow enough water that, he wasn't just going to drift off from, those batteries holding, the batteries kind of turned into an anchor for him. At least he kind of knew where he was at, and go back there and get his stuff, which I think he took a diver back. But, it's all dependent on like how you've got that kayak rigged up too and all that. So, but it's definitely not an ideal situation.
Yeah, I don't want to relive that again. I'll tell you that.
You took a diver to get your stuff back?
I did, yeah. So the week later, the following Friday, me and I took my old man's jet boat down there, and we went down there and met a diver from Table Rock, Indian Marina, I think it was. He met us there. We took him right to the spot. about 20 minutes, he found started finding actually see my red bump board. He said it lit up, and as soon as he seen it, he just seen all sorts of stuff. So I got 90% of my stuff back, so I'm happy.
Phones?
Yep. He actually it was crazy because he said he didn't see the actual phone. He just seen like the silhouette of it like in the mud because it had already caked over with silt that bad. But he was able to see like the outline of it, knew it wasn't natural, and sure enough, it was the phone. So
Wow.
yeah, it was good. Got all the rods and reels back. My battery, of course, my batteries I got that day was Schwernigan, but yeah. Some tackle and my totes. The only thing that didn't come home, so that's that. I'll stick with that. I'm okay with that.
Nice.
Crazy stuff.
Yep, happens fast.
I was just looking at the leaderboard, and so let me see if I can share this real quick with you guys. I didn't even realize that you had any smallmouth in your limit, and Trey, I thought that was pretty cool that you noticed that. So it looks like your big fish was a largemouth.
Yeah, that actually caught with like 8 minutes to go.
8 minutes to go.
Schwernigan would say power hour. It was like power minute. So yeah, I caught it with like 2:22 or 3:22. I think is when I caught it. Yeah, so it was like last minute.
And then your next 3 fish are all smallmouth, which that's crazy.
Yep. Yeah, dude, it was fun. It was definitely a blast. And we fish tunnel and stuff like that, but I don't know. I've never caught that many fish out of one spot like that. Like it was insane.
Can you launch at the base of tunnel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a little bar there that you can launch on.
But getting down to it is a nightmare.
Yeah.
What I remember.
Yeah. The road's not fun, especially when the grader hasn't been through.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you hear banjos going down that road too a lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Hey, now that's where I grew up. That's my kinfolk down there.
Yeah.
Well, they play it.
Carter literally got to show him his patch. He's got like a tattoo. It's kind of like when we're in prison. He has to show the patch in order to use the law.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, there is. So like right below Tunnel Dam, there's a little access point there. There's also Whistle Bridge. There's also that spot there.
Yep.
So you really could, if you wanted to, put in there and run down. But yeah, that's wild. The Trey mentioned that, and I was like, what? And so I pulled up the thing, and I was like, sure enough, he had 3 smallmouth in there. Yep. That's crazy. So like, as far as did you have a full limit of smallmouth at one point?
Yeah. First off, yeah. I think I hit I think it was a 14 largemouth like first cast, and then it was all smallmouth the rest of the morning until about noon. Is when I hit that spot that I think ended up staying in the bag. But yeah, I ran on a limit of smallmouth for most of the day.
So you had the trifecta. So you had the spot, largie, and the smallmouth.
Yeah, I caught all 3. I even caught a pumpkin seed on the crankbait. I'm pretty sure I lost a jerkbait to a gar. Because normally when you go to swing on them and the line just comes back, that's normally a gar. So
wild.
Did you have any company up there?
Nope. No boats, no kayaks.
You will next year.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. But hey, that's okay. It's part of the sport, man.
Yep.
Yeah, us kayakers can't keep our spots to ourselves. It seems like we're pretty crafty when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah, we're pretty good old boys though, so most of us don't mind sharing.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Well, let's talk to Mr. Inky, Mr. Winter Chicken Dinner, Mr. I only catch fish in the fall, but every once in a while a blind squirrel finds a nut.
That's right.
Man, tell us about it. Tell us about your day.
Well, I'll start by talking about the night before. I think it's notable to point out that we had 50-mile-an-hour winds and forest fires and craziness the night before. I'd never experienced that much crap in a 24-hour period in my life, and we got lucky that we were able to fish at all. Because after the tournament, here comes the wind and the snow and craziness again. It was incredible. So Richie and I were in the hotel talking the night before, and we're like, well, I think there's a ramp at Tunnel Dam, but we'll probably have to drive through another forest fire to get to it, or it'll be just a bunch of mud and ashes and trees down all the way up through there. So we thought that was too risky. So we decided on another place. The first Moyak event that I ever fished was Lake of the Ozarks, and it was like April, and this was like 2019 or 2020, I believe. And I launched up the Glaze and did well. I think I got a third place that year. And so I told him about that, and I said that I'm going to go there in the morning. And he said, "Well, I'll go with you," because he said I need to find some new spots to fish on Lake of the Ozarks. And so I said, "Good, let's launch together. You can help me push my kayak back up the ramp at the end of the day." And so we made that plan. So we got up at like 4:30 or 5 in the morning and took off. We got to the ramp, and there's a big sign that says ramp closed. I guess the water was too low, so we had to bail out of there and find somewhere else nearby to fish. So we rolled up on Ty Ward, Robert Swearingen, and two boys from Arkansas. Who were they? It was Michael Sandlin and Shannon Jernigan, and we were all watching the waves crash against the shore. And Robert said, "I'm going to leave you fools behind," and he took off. And we told him he had to wait, and he wouldn't listen to us. So I was about to call Josh and complain, but I didn't. But anyway, got on the water about, I don't know, 45 minutes late. I don't remember what it was, and took off and went across the way there and found a little cut that there was nobody in, and within 5 minutes I had a fish on, like a 9-incher, and I was like, well, this is great. I'm not going to skunk today because everybody was talking about how rough Lake of the Ozarks was fishing, and that was before the warm up that we had, and I just knew a warm spring rain and a lot of wind and a lot of shad piling up. Just go to where the wind was piling into the bank and just hunker down and just keep firing, and you'll catch something. So, but then it was like another hour and a half before I had another bite. And luckily I was in the back of a cove about a foot deep, and I threw this beat up old spinnerbait, and I caught a 20 on that. And that set the tone for the rest of the day. I threw that thing for another half an hour without a bite. And finally I saw Richie and went over to him, and I wanted to get a picture of him for the website or Facebook. And as soon as I pulled up on him, he caught a fish, and he happened to be throwing something that I had tied on, red fritz side. And so I left him, and I had thrown that a couple times, and it didn't have any bites on it. But I went about a half a mile from him and started throwing it shallow, and I caught fish probably every 20 minutes for the rest of the day. You talk about that power hour. I was headed back to the ramp, and I found a main lake cut, and it had a bunch of timber in the back of it. It was real still, out of the wind, and there were fish blowing up on shad in there the last half hour of the tournament. I couldn't get a single bite off any of them. I was just going around. They were just blowing up all around me. My head was on a swivel, and I threw the tackle box at him and couldn't catch a thing. And there were some big fish eating those shad. But that was fun to watch, but I would have liked to have been in on the action. But then, end of the day, I had 84 inches and took it away with the win, and that was great.
Awesome.
Had one other bite at about 1:30 on this old original chatterbait. I figured they were eating shad, so I changed from my normal black and blue to a white one, and immediately got a bite on that, and then I didn't get another bite on it the rest of the day. So it was just sporadic, except the only thing that was consistent was that red crankbait. So.
What do you think is so, like, is it just a different act? Like, do you think there's so many people throwing rock crawlers at the frit sides just play, or do you think it's a water temp thing? What do you think it is, man? Well,
I have a lot of confidence in a flat-sided crankbait when the water is below 50, and it was 49 everywhere for me that day. If I'm not throwing a chatterbait, I'll be throwing a flat-sided crankbait when it's like that. Now that's at Lake of the Ozarks. Now if I'm going to Table Rock this weekend, I will have me a wiggle wart on, because those table rock bass love a wiggle wart. I mean, everybody knows historically in the springtime that, or a shad wrap on light line. But I think the water's going to be a little bit warmer down there than it was at Lake the Ozarks. So I'll probably end up throwing a spinnerbait and a chatterbait some. So, but yeah, I like a wiggle wart bite too.
Now, I will say, Troy, at the end of the day, I'm going to pick on him for a second here. He comes up to me and says, well, how'd you do, sandbagger? I'm like, man, I figured I was going to be kind of at the end of the check line. And I said, Troy, I saw you had a 20. Yeah, but I don't have anything to go with it. Just a bunch of little ones. I didn't do any good at all today. So. He calls me the sandbagger.
Well, it wasn't exactly verbatim like that, but it was close. But anyway, yeah. I like him. I thought for sure there'd be. I mean, if I can catch a 20, I knew a lot of guys would be catching 3 or 4 20s, and I thought it was going to take 90 inches to win this tournament, because it's Lake of the Ozarks in the spring, and we had a warm up, and I thought, there's going to be a bunch of guys that either were way up a river and didn't have cell service, or they're going to be the kind of people that wait till the end of the day and pile them all in after the leaderboard goes off. And I just couldn't believe it. But, I thought Robert was going to have, one of those performances where he says at the ramp he had low 80s, and you get to the awards and it's like 89 inches. That's what I thought he was going to do. That's why I called him a sandbagger. These bass boat guys, you can't trust them.
I actually thought at one point I was adding it up in my head, because I went for a long time and I didn't have any service. I couldn't upload anything. And I was adding it up in my head. I actually thought I had 84 at one point, but after I got it all uploaded, I realized that
your math wasn't mathing.
Yeah.
Well, my dad always said there's only 3 types of people in this world: those that can count and those who can't.
That's why I asked you, is there a way to find out how many inches you got when he turns that off? Because I didn't know how much I had, so I had to look and see. You got to like blink real fast or miss it, and yeah, I was shocked to see 84 on the board.
Yeah, so I think they have updated that, where if you go to the standings, it won't show the standings, but it'll show you how many inches you have.
Yeah, it's kind of ghosted in the background.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was interesting to see how many, there were some people that historically do really, really well in all the MOYAC events that, for whatever reason, like I had Troy said that, he was just catching fish all day long. Adam was catching fish all day long. Aaron was catching fish all day long. And there were some guys, like I said, that are just straight hammers that, struggled at Lake of the Ozarks this last weekend. So just goes to show you, man, it's any given Saturday.
Yeah. If you do this sport or any sport associated with fishing long enough, you're going to have those days where the guys in the check line are like, I caught fish all day long, caught 40 or 50 fish. And you're like, I had 0.
Right.
2 bites all day long.
Yeah. And like Jonathan said, some of it is location deal, some of it's a timing deal, and some of it is you just got your butt kicked and you got to deal with it. And I've been there a lot in the springtime. Does anybody know offhand how many 20s were caught? 2,
10 or so.
3. Ty Ward with a 20.5. Michael Bovid with a 20.5.
Zachary Wilmington had a 20.
I see 6 over 20 inches, but we had 20 that had 0s.
Does it count if I say, and I'm not, listen, if I ever say this, listen, I know what you're going to say, Aaron. Like, I don't say this, and people are like, man, I lost a giant fish. But, dude, I promise you, I have not been fishing that long, but this was literally probably the biggest fish I've ever caught. Came on a crankbait, got right next to me, came off. I didn't know how big it was until she jumped. So, like, usually if I have a crankbait, like something break off, I can see him jump, or maybe you release a fish, you see him jump. But I got my crankbait back, and then I seen her jump twice, like maybe 5 feet in front of me. She must have thought she was still hooked and trying to spit something out. But I mean, I promise you, it would have been the biggest bass I've ever caught. maybe I've caught a bigger one out of, some pond puppy, but this would be definitely the biggest fish I've ever caught in a tournament. But yeah, it was huge. It was every bit of a 5 or 6 pounder, which was really cool. So yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but just to say, yeah, I did have a big one.
Yeah, I heard that quite a bit at the awards. I could overhear people talking. I had a giant on and it got off, or it jumped and threw my whatever. And yeah, Richie had a big one on. He said it was about a 22, and that would have been a giant.
Yeah, it'd have been a big one.
Yeah, and it would have gone well with his 19 and a half. And you guys would be talking to him today and not me.
Yeah.
I'm definitely looking forward to Palmy. There's been some big fish caught up there lately. I'll be up there this weekend, and took 27 pounds to win up there the other day.
Every year in February or March, you hear these bass boat tournament weights of 25, 27 pounds, and then it just falls off a cliff.
Yeah. Palmy shows up in the spring, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that this has been probably 10 or 12 years ago. This was the biggest bag of fish I've ever caught in my life, was on Palmy. We were actually scared to death to even weigh it in, because it used to be, 12 pounds would win in the wintertime up there. And we knew we were way into the 20s. And so we kind of go up there and start nosing around like, hey, what's winning? Turned out there was Les Jarman, who used to be a guide on Stockton. He had 31 and his son had 30. I'm like, I don't feel so bad about it.
Oh, my. Wow.
So about 20 years ago, I first started fishing the boat world, and the club we used to go to fish with went to Palmy in the spring. And I remember 8 pounds would win it during the spring,
Yep.
So the lake, how far that lake's come in 15, 20 years, it is just, it's phenomenal. And which is crazy for having predatory fish, having muskie in there. You wouldn't think fish would be allowed to get that big with having big muskie in there to eat on them all day long.
And being as big, being as well, maybe as small, I think, Palmy's kind of a middle-sized lake. Every kayak tournament I fished there, I don't feel like we're stacked on each other. Like, there's so many places to fish in that lake. And that's what's so cool about it. It is probably it is my top 2 favorite lakes in our series. It's going to be a slugfest, dude.
Troy, let's jump into this AI stuff that you've been messing with and kind of run us down what you've kind of figured out.
Okay.
Troy blew my email up today with all this stuff, and I'm just kind of blowing my head out. It's crazy.
Rob's fires put me to sleep.
It feels pretty good right now.
Yeah, it tanked out today.
Well, it's not letting me share. I should have tried to do this before the.
Let me see. Hold on. Which one do you want me to start with?
Oh, wait a minute. What am I sharing? Browser has been blocked. Okay, now you're gonna have to share. Do the one that says Pomme de Terre Power Rankings.
Pomme de Terre Power Rankings.
So what I did was I got on ChatGPT this morning, and I had it crawl the Moyak website and look at all the history every time we fished from 2020 till now on Palmy. And it shows who's had the most top 10s at Pomme de Terre, regardless of the time of year. And there's some familiar names there at the top of the list. ChatGPT put all this in here. I didn't have anything to do with it.
I think Chat likes you, bro.
But there's a lot of familiar names, and there's some good historical names in here. I see Jeff Mellencamp and Jason Yasnitsky, some old guy named Dorman Huey's on there. But it's cool to be able to get these kind of stats, and I'll hopefully be able to supply stats like this to you guys in the future for all your podcasts. And you just let me know what you want, and I'll try to guess first of all. But it's kind of cool to see this. And now if you'll share the one that's actually, let me see here.
Danny Johnson on there. What? Oh,
Grizzly
Yeah,
Bears
so-
on there.
he
that
is. Dude.
he needs to come out of retirement.
He does. There
Yeah.
you are, DJ.
Someone needs to tag him on this.
No
So-
Litton on there.
Me and Chad have both got 4 top 10 finishes. Richie, Blake, Wylant, that guy's coming on. I've got another slide to show you about the power rankings for the last 5 regular season events. And Blake is he's out of control. Tyler Coakley, Tommy Probst, Jonathan Dominguez.
Hey.
All have about three finishes, top 10 finishes on Palmy. So ChatGPT gave us some insights, and one of them is that Davison is the most consistent angler at Palmy, so no pressure. Coming off of Bass Classic at Fork tomorrow. Good luck to all the Moyak guys fishing that, by the way. Davison will, he'll have the weight of the world on him at Palmy. It's all this history.
Hey, I don't have social media right now. What did Lance? What was Lance's fish?
10-2, I think.
Ooh, okay.
23 3/4.
Wow.
And I think Davison had a 23 in practice also, maybe 23 and a half or something like that.
Heck yeah.
Can you
Yeah,
show
so-
the in stats like the bottom ranking so I can see my name on something?
We'll get that at the next go round.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is that other one that you sent me as well. This is the top performers at Palmy.
In the spring.
Pre-June events.
Yeah. So the Burrito Banditos are coming after you.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
That's so weird because you only catch fish in the fall.
I know. Well, I have no idea what's going on here at Palmy, but I had no idea I was that effectual. But I have a feeling that it's going to go the other way because getting back-to-back good performances out of me is rough. Now, Richie, he's consistent. He's been doing this a lot longer than me. But it'll be a fun one. I hope we don't get hail and crazy weather. I hope it's decent. But it's Moyak. You know what we need to expect. So.
Looking at these lists, there's a couple names that kind of scare me, and it's not the Chads, it's not the Lance Burses, it's not the guys that scare me. And being so young in this and doing this is the guys that are younger than me, the Zach Wolvertons, the Spencer O'Neill. Spencer finished 3rd last year, and I think last year was like his first full year. He competed the year before in some events, but like those guys are the ones that scare me because if they can get it figured out, man, they can be on the tear.
Yep. And that brings me to the next slide I want to show you, which is the power rankings for the top 10 finishes for the last 5 Moyak regular season events. So this would be the last 5. It's not including the championship. It's not including the Taney 20 or any of the winter events. So these would be the Lake of the Ozarks event and the last 4 regular season events for Moyak last year. So obviously there's one name at the top of the list that everybody's going to know. That'd be Chad Davison. And you can share that slide if you have it.
I don't think I have that one.
Moyak Power Rankings top 10. Don't have that? Surely you do.
Nope, I don't have that one.
Garbage.
Let's see if I can.
Ooh, surely.
I've got the Palmy preview and the Palmy Spring. I've got the AIR summary on this one. Let me see if I can share this. I think this is what you're referring to, but there's no slide on there on this one.
There's more than one way to skin this cat. Okay, it's coming to your messenger. We have the technology. We can make this happen.
So speaking of that, Troy, like if someone wants to get chat, like I've got the free version of Chat GPT. Do you encourage people if they want to use this to get the paid version or?
You'd have to really be using it a lot it's $20 a month, I think, for the paid version. You might be able to do this kind of stuff with it. And this is, I don't know if it has this capability for the free version or not, but I just said, look at the website and give me insights for these events. And I put in links to every one of the results for each of these events. And it spit this chart out in like 30 seconds. It was amazing. And so, yeah, Chad has had 4 top 10 finishes in the last 5 events. Tyler, Jonathan, and Blake and me have had 3 top 10s. And then there's just all kinds of up-and-comers. Like you said, Spencer O'Neill, Wolverton. He's coming on. But, yeah, it's
Trey Dawson. Trey Dawson on the list. Watch
I
out.
see it, bro. I told y'all don't be messing with me. I ain't playing with y'all this year, man.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought everybody get a kick out of that. So
that's awesome.
We'll be bringing this kind of stuff as the year goes on, and hope to see some new names on these lists. And it's one thing about Moyak. I think last year we didn't have a single 2-time winner. We had a lot of the same guys in the top 10, but we had a different winner at every event last year. I believe.
Wow.
I think that's the first time that's happened in a while. But Moyak's a huge club, and so props to everybody that's staying consistent and don't get discouraged. We've got a lot of rookies at the top, and every year some rookies show out, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more of that coming because we got a big rookie class again this year. I think we have 30 or 40 rookies already, and 100 and a little over 120 guys and gals we have signed up.
Yeah, 2 shout outs to 2 2 top 15s at Lake of the Ozarks for 2 rookies, Ryan Summer and Tyler Alexander.
Good job, guys.
Yeah, so it's awesome.
Guys, all this information that we're looking at, a lot of it you can find it on MoyakFishingSeries.com. Troy Inky, the man, the myth, the legend, he does an amazing job handling all this stuff. So you can get on here and see how you're doing. One of the things I really like is when you're clicking on different stuff, you can click on different events and see who finished first. You can see points. You can really, if you're in that race for AOY, you can go through here and check that stuff out. But Troy does an amazing job on this. Really cool things that I like is, like last year, he does an article on every event. So like the Papa Bluff that Tyler Coakley won, he does a write-up on it, talking to a lot of the top anglers on there, kind of getting, what was going on, how'd they fish, and stuff like that.
What was that?
Who let the dogs out? But seriously, there's a bunch of information on there. So, if you're looking for, information maybe on fishing, how guys did, if you're not in the podcast, not watching this stuff, you can always get on here and get some more information there. But it's really cool. Troy, seriously, we appreciate everything you do on our website, man.
You bet. So if you go back.
That's what sets this club out, man. It's them little bitty things that people don't like. I would like to, I don't care what other clubs are doing for real, but man, I would venture to say that, the work that you're putting in it like that, dude, that goes to show something, man. That shows appreciation. That shows that dude that maybe got, 48th place or 82nd place, that a lot of work is going on behind the scenes. And a club that you can really just be proud to fish for, regardless of how you fish. If you're new or you've been doing it for years, you came out of a bass boat, now you're in a plastic boat, that this is so much more than just winning a tournament.
Yep, it's a great club, and I wouldn't do this if I didn't like most of the guys in the club. But really, for the people who know me will know what I'm about to say here, but one of the main reasons I do this is because I'm a control freak. And I want to have all this stuff. This stats are important to me, and having a history showing the records of the club, all that stuff's important. And every whether it was a bass boat club or any other club I ever joined, nobody ever did this. And I was like, where's the information? Because it's important. It's a legacy, of the club. And we're 10 years into this. This is the 10th year of Moyak, and we've got about I want to say about 6 years of good history on that club records page, and some of it goes back even further because Josh and Mellencamp and Hillman and those guys were able to recollect who won what and who won the first championship. And well, I don't think the first year they even had a championship, but you get to hear some of those stories. But on the club records page, I try to keep that up to date. And if anybody needs a new, notices that we need a new category for that, or they want us to track something different, just let me know, and I'll try to get it on there. So one new thing that we're doing this year is you'll see the NM next to some of the names on the Lake of the Ozarks. That means that was a non-member who fished that event. They're going to have a point total to the far right column, but that's not going to go into our Angler of the Year points race. So if they're a non-member, they're not going to get any points, but you're going to see what they could have had they not been a non-member. So what that does is that makes sure that I don't know if anybody knows this or not, but we have one of the criteria that we have for our Angler of the Year is a weighting system. So if you win a big event, you're going to get more points than if you won a smaller event. So to make sure that calculation is true, I've got to put every single angler in, and some of them are non-members. And so just to make sure that their inches were allotted for and their placement was allotted for that winner or everybody else in the tournament, they're going to get a weighting score for their place if it was more people in it. So that's going to be something new that you'll see NM next to some of these anglers' names. And maybe that'll prod them into becoming a member, having NM next to their name.
So just a question for you, Troy. Let's say somebody, because we have 7 regular season events, is that right?
Yes.
And then we can drop 2. Let's say some guy pays for 7 events. He fishes 7 events. Another guy fishes 5 events and doesn't fish the other 2. Does that guy that fished the 7 events, does he get a couple extra points or not?
Nope.
When it comes to the end of the season? Nope.
End of the year is 5. It doesn't matter. You like Lance Burris one year made it into the championship, but he only fished 5. So he had national level tournaments that were conflicting with Moyak, and he was still able to qualify for the Taney 20 by fishing 5. So
So one of the non-members fishes 2 events, does really well, and then decides to become a member on the 3rd event. The points that are on the right-hand side, they are not applied to the total after he makes membership. Is that correct?
That's correct. So I will create a new angler profile when they become a member, and they'll have 2 names. One of them will be an NM name, and one will be a rookie name. So if they're not a member and they never have been a member, they'll become a rookie. If they're not a member this year, but they've been a member in the past, I'll create a new non-member profile for them, which that hasn't happened. We rarely have somebody who's been a member in the past who doesn't, who competes by being a non-member. That's very rare. So,
do you do taxes?
I don't. I just got a new accountant, so
I knew you were cut from a different stock 2 years ago when I said, Troy, can you help me with a schedule? And you literally sent me your personal schedule that had like BASS on it. You had All-American on it. And I still have it hung up. Like I had used that template. Like I just knew when you sent me that, I was like, yeah, this dude's got it figured it out.
Well,
did you look at that spreadsheet though? Because the one he shared with me this year, because he shared the same one. Like if you look down at the bottom, there's about 50 tabs on there from like every year that he's fished. Any kind of like there was like the little kids fishing derby back in the day on there, like where he like everything. It was really cool to like. I was like, I'm in the mind of Troy Inky right now. And
he's a beast, bro.
And it was really like Troy's the wizard. So like, I'm sure he could create some sort of spreadsheet for you that you could just, here you go. And then it'll plug out a bunch of stuff for you.
I do that because I can't remember anything. So I've got to write it down somewhere.
Just don't do a spreadsheet of ramps. Can you not do that one, Troy, please? Can you just
Marty Hughes did that on a couple legs for us.
I know he did.
He's got now you talk about a wizard. That guy's a wizard. He's got trail maps for all the trails in the nation, and he writes down notes. He's got catalogs of notes. He's the GOAT for as far as historical references and being able to look back in time. And Marty's amazing. He's somebody to look up to for sure.
He's a Google wizard.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we're right at an hour, so probably wrap this up. But seriously, guys, congrats on this weekend. Congrats on catching fish when some people couldn't. Excited about it. Looking forward to Palmy. We'll be on here probably that week before on Wednesday, back with the podcast talking about Palmy, getting excited for that. But seriously, guys, thanks for coming on. You guys got anything else before we go?
Anybody's curious, a Newport works awesomely well with an AP.
Aha.
Just saying. It's pretty fast too.
I forgot to say it at the awards, but thank you to Eco Fishing Shop for hosting. That was great to have a nice place to go back and have a 4x4 Brewing Company beer and talk shop with everybody with a roof over our heads. That was wonderful. So thank you, Jonathan and the crew there in Camdenton.
Absolutely. I'll pass on the word.
I still need to bring in my AP to Jonathan. I haven't put that new Torpedo I won at the 250 on the back of that. I still got it in the box. I haven't even looked at it, actually. It's in my garage. So.
Is it a 403?
Yeah, it's the good one, right, Jonathan? It's the big one.
No, it's the 403. It's not the 1103.
Okay.
It's
I got some stuff for you. I'll bring it to Palmy.
Okay. I love that.
Oh, guys, well, thank you so much. I think we're going to call it here. Tune in next week, or I guess the week after, for the Palmy preview. And good luck this year, guys.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you.
See you guys.
See you guys.
See ya.